Hello everyone, Caroline from Spirit of Nature Art, and a little update for you before we get started today because this is my brand new website. I am so excited. You can see that my shop is fully stocked at the moment, and as you scroll down through the website you will discover what's coming next, which is going to be my altered book online courses. So keep an eye out for more information because that will be coming out to you soon. But for now, we are about to start a brand new video series, and a rather curious one, because I had a few curious items come my way that I decided to use together. So first of all, Collage Soup, this amazing, really fun book that was gifted to me as part of my birthday earlier in February, and I was determined to kind of do something to bring all of this together. And then I also found this rather curious item in my local charity shop for £2. Not really sure what it is. First of all, I thought maybe it was some kind of like Harry Potter kind of, merchandise. And then I thought maybe this is like a photo album or a menu thing. I have no idea. I bought it because of that amazing tissue paper with the spider webs on it to use in some spooky books. But then I was like, well, what am I going to do with the kind of leatherish folio that comes around it? So I kind of thought, right, these two things can go together. I can use this and I can use my Collage Soup book to start to create something that's a little bit lapbooky, but a little bit curious. So I'm starting off by creating a bit of a spine because there's no real spine on this and I want to be able to get some bulk in here. So I've just cut a bit of Greyboard. And as you can see already, that's kind of changing the structure of this folio, so that we can start to think about what to do next. And I had these file folders. I had some in my stash that were already cut and folded, and I thought, well, let's use this as the basis, because this is one of those projects where I sat down and I had no idea what I was doing. So you are literally seeing this come to life as it came to life in my brain. So I decided that I wanted to make this pocket over here smaller. So I've just popped my cutting mat in there just to cut that back a little bit so that we can still have some page there. There's more space for us to put things in that pocket. So I'm just marking the kind of central area here so that I can use my little tab punch here to create a nice little kind of tab space there so we can see it's obvious that we can put things in here. So just popping my cutting mat back in there so that I can cut that bit of card out without going through the folio itself. There we go, so we can start to see we've got that little place to be able to put things. I've got this bit of tea dye paper here and I'm just kind of giving it a little snip so that I can put it in there to cover that little, what do you call it, tuck spot, so that, but we can also have that little bit coming in over the top. So just edging with some ink as I go along. And I've added this hinge here, a little bit of offcut from the file folder, and I've added a hinge, and I'll show you how I do that on the other side, so that I can stick in this folded file folder that I already had. So I've got some double-sided tape on there and just some HiTack glue. And I've just pre-inked, because this is the reinforced one, it's a little bit shiny. So I've inked using archival rather than distress. And I'm just kind of sticking that down and leaving that to the side to dry. And I've cut a piece of Greyboard exactly the same size as that spine and then cut it in half, so that I've got these two pieces here that are going to become the closure. So I've covered them in some old book pages and inked them up already. And I've got this little closure here, I think it's called a cabinet closure. So I've just poked through the holes and put some brads in on one side, and I'm just doing the same on the other side now. And I'm doing this before I stick it in to the actual folder so that I can make sure that they are in the right place and they're going to connect, because there's no real give in these cabinet kind of catches. If they don't kind of line up, it's not going to close. So here I'm just putting a couple of brads through those holes. I think they come with screws, but obviously I don't want to use screws, so getting the brads in place And we can see how this will be the closure that will attach to this bit of file folder here that is now dry. So that's where the closure is going to go. And I'm just playing around with how I might flip and flap the folder. So here we go. The closure is going to attach. So we'll put this piece here and we're going to do another one on the other side here. So it's starting to create that Lapbook. So here is how I am doing that. I'm just using my score tool here. And then I'm using my cutting tool. So this piece is just a random size and I've scored it down the middle to create this hinge. Just like this hinge here. So I'm just going to miter it. And give it a good burnish because this hinge will get quite a lot of use. And I'm going to stick this over here. So double-sided tape and then some HiTack glue. So that means the HiTack glue just means that I'm going to get a bit of wiggle room. Before, if I just use the tape, it's gonna stay exactly where I first leave it. So I get a little bit of time to wiggle that around, but I get the added stickiness of the double-sided tape. So same on the other side, take off the backing, add some HiTack glue, and then place on that folded folio. So I just want to cover that central spine that I've created. So I'm just sticking it to a piece of tea dye paper. And this is exactly how I covered those smaller spines as well. So sticking it to some tea dye paper, trimming off the corners, and then just covering that by folding that paper in so you get a nice finished edge to it. And I've got two other pieces of spine as well, so this will match those ones with the closures on, so they'll go on the inside to add even more strength. So those will go on the outside and the other pieces will go on the inside. So double-sided tape, tacky glue, and just adding it to that pre-folded area there to create that external, I guess the opposite to that spine that's in there. So this is going to be at the front of the book. And then I'm going to do the same with the other pieces, but they are going to go behind the ones with the closure on the other side, as you can see here. So it's just adding even more strength and sturdiness to what is essentially just a piece of card with that folio. So that now we've got a nice steady front and closure like that. Wonderful. So now we need to start filling this. So you can see where I've already just kind of put some scores in and folded that file folder, literally so that it fits within that folio, and also to give me those staggered pages. So I've just played around, I've not done any measuring, I've literally just found a point where it gives a nice kind of staggered feeling and folded there. And I just want to cover that inside back cover. I don't like that shiny fabric, it's all a bit weird. So tea dye paper and just measuring that up in position, tearing it with my steel rule, bit of inking, and sticking that down. And I have this other leftover bit of file folder as well, and I thought, I can start to create some more pages within this book. So the Lapbook, you just really want as many pages and flaps and folders as possible. So I'm just cutting this down to the right height. And this is exactly how I created those other pages that are already in there. Cut it to height, then play around with how I wanted to fold it. So this one is getting a narrower spine on it, so it fits in. And here we go. I'm just playing around with how this is all going to stagger as I put this together. So I'm just bringing in my scoring. This is my cutting one, but it has a scoring blade on it. So it just gives me a much neater fold. And now I want this one to stagger in between the two. So as you can see, I had absolutely no plan about what I was doing. I'm just putting things in position and seeing how I like that to be. Using plenty of clips and paper clips to help me along the way so that I can see exactly where things are going to land once they're stuck in. Using that scoring tool so we can see all of these flips and flaps and pages that we've created inside this folio now. And this is the basic structure. There's going to be more, that's Woody, thank you Woody. There's going to be more that we add as we start to decorate, but this gives us the basic structure to start to work with. So this is what we have got so far. We have got, I've added in these extra little tuck pockets here. So it's just a single piece of card that I've done the same cutting out as I did on that inside piece. And I just tried out one of the birds from the Curious Bird book to see how it was going to fit. So I really like how that's coming along. So we've got, I'm trying to sort of match it a little bit on both sides, but not exactly. So we can start to see the basis that we've got to work with. And that's my little fingers tapping, deciding what to do next. So join me next week as we start to decorate this and see how it all comes together. See you then.